There are 6 major AI video models out right now, and every single one of them is being marketed as the best. So I decided to test them. I ran the same prompts in different scenarios with different specific models. And the difference between the right one and the wrong one for the same scene was honestly night and day. So by the end of this video, you're going to learn which model is good for a specific use case and which one is the most reliable overall. So before we get into the test, I want to go through something important. Every single one of these models was built with a different strength in mind, and most creators don't know that. So they pick one model and run every single prompt through it regardless of what they're making, and then wonder why half their generations look off. The platform I'm using to run all of these tests is Higgsfield because it gives you access to every single one of these models. So instead of paying for 7 different subscriptions and learning 7 different interfaces, everything runs from one dashboard. If you want to follow along, I've left a link for Higgsfield in the description below. Now I'm going to be putting these models across 5 different stress tests. The models include VO 3.1, Kling 3.0, Grok Imagine, WAN 2.6, Hailuo 02, and Seedance 2.0. So the first test is cinematic action because it's one of the most common things people are actually trying to create with AI video right now. And it's also one of the hardest things to get right because you need realistic motion blur and proper physics and lighting that actually reacts to the environment. I've already created the reference image for this one, so I'm going straight into animating it. I've also created a consistent character using the character feature in Higgsfield, so I'll be using her in our generations. Inside Higgsfield, I'm heading to the video tab at the top, clicking in to create video, uploading my image as the start frame, selecting my model and dropping in the prompt. All models get the same prompt and starting frame, so let's see what comes back. VO 3.1 went first. The character movement actually looked really realistic, which was impressive, but the running speed wasn't quite right. It came out almost like slow motion and she didn't even make it through the sliding door. It started glitching right as she got there, opening it first, then suddenly closing, then trying to open again after it had already shut. I'm giving VO 3.1 a 5 out of 10 for this one. Kling 3.0 impressed with how realistic the character's movement was. The running looked natural and the start of the slide was really well done too. But right after the slide, it just kept going longer than it should. This made it feel off and a bit unrealistic. I'm giving Kling 3.0 a 6 out of 10 for this one. Grok Imagine produced a solid result. The environment looked great and the lighting was moody and on point, but when it comes to the slide, it falls a bit flat. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Seedance 2 surprised me here. The energy of the clip felt incredibly natural. The transition carried real momentum, and the pacing was spot on. Everything looked genuinely realistic, especially the slide, which felt smooth and perfectly timed, and even the sound design added to that realism in a big way. The details were sharp throughout, and overall it just felt way more polished than expected. Easily a 9.5 out of 10. So, for cinematic action, Seedance 2 comes out on top. However, the second test is where the rankings start to shift because we're moving into sports, and this is a completely different challenge entirely. For a basketball scene specifically, you need realistic muscle tension, cloth physics, and enhanced audio. It's not just about the atmosphere anymore. I've already got the image ready and the prompt ready, so let's animate it. VO struggled a lot more than last time. When it comes to fast-paced realism, it just can't keep up with some of the newer models. It's not terrible, but not close to the bar it set in the previous category, so 6.5 out of 10. Grok Imagine gave a clean and watchable result. The dunk motion was convincing and the lighting was solid. It didn't push into the top tier, but it is still a reliable, usable clip. 6.5 out of 10. Hailuo 02 gave me a fast result again, but the quality dropped off a little compared to last time. It's just not built for high action outputs like this. On top of that, there's no sound at all, which is another big minus point. 4 out of 10. WAN 2.6 struggled with realistic physics. The result is okay, but the details just weren't at the same level as the others. 5 out of 10. Kling 3.0 owned this test. and it wasn't even close. The jersey cloth was moving like actual fabric, and the muscle tension in the arms was realistic. The lines on the basketball did get a little crazy, but that's the only real negative. And to be fair, all the other models struggled with that too. This is exactly what Kling 3.0 was built for. Realistic physics with good audio and long narrative videos. 8 out of 10. Seedance just one-upped everything Kling did. And on top of that, it even nailed the lines on the ball, which almost no other model could pull off. Honestly, I'd be inclined to give this a 10 out of 10, our first one today. Now the next test is the one that I was most nervous about, and the results were not what I expected at all. Because now we're focusing on lip sync with an extreme close-up, so you'll be able to see every single detail. For this one, we're using Lip Sync Studio. Head over to the Higgsfield homepage, hover over video, and you'll see the Lip Sync Studio option. Go ahead and click on it. To start, I'm going to show you the text to audio workflow. First, pick your model. I'll go with Kling 2.6 Lip Sync. Next, upload a simple image of your character. Since we're focusing purely on the lip sync here, nothing too complex is needed. Then, paste in your audio text. This is what your character will actually say. After that, add a scene prompt to describe how you imagine the scene looking. Once everything's set, hit generate.
Watch how this face comes to life with perfect AI lip sync in seconds.
Kling 2.6's lip sync came out pretty solid overall. The voice sounded a bit better than expected, not amazing but still decent, with a slight hint of natural feel to it. The mouth movement actually came out pretty good.
That's why I'm giving Kling an 8 out of 10. Watch how this face comes to life with perfect AI lip sync in seconds. Google Veo 3 felt fairly natural overall. The voice of the character wasn't bad, but the audio quality held it back a bit. The facial expressions and mouth movements still came through quite realistic. I'm giving Google Veo a 7 out of 10. WAN 2.5 didn't really impress me here. Watch how this face comes to life with perfect AI lip sync in seconds. The speech felt unnatural, same with the voice, and overall, it wasn't the best. The mouth movement was also far from perfect. I'm giving WAN a 5 out of 10. In this test, we could honestly pick more than one winner, and the fact that we've had different winners so far tells you everything about why using just one model for everything is going to make your results outdated. Now I want to throw something at these models that most people never actually think to test, and that's crowd scenes. Because generating one convincing human is just the beginning, but generating 50 is a completely different problem. The challenge isn't just generating a crowd that stands still. It's about generating a crowd where every single person in the background feels alive and there are no glitches happening anywhere in the frame. I want to keep the prompt simple and see how the models handle the crowds on their own. Image and prompt are ready, so let's get started. WAN 2.6 went first and it was really static. It kept it simple and didn't really do anything with the crowd in the background, 5 out of 10. Veo 3.1 did a similar thing to WAN, but it wasn't as static. It didn't do much with the crowd either, though there was a bit more life to the scene. 6 out of 10. Hilo 02 did a bit more than the others with the crowd, but yet again there's no sound, and the characters were moving in a bit of a slow motion, 7 out of 10. Grok Imagine was so good compared to the others on this one. The whole crowd moves in when the train stops, the sounds, everything. More people even come out of the train. The only problem I have with it is that, for some reason, some characters are pointing at the train. 8 out of 10. Seedance 2 was a standout result of this test. What impressed me most was how natural the crowd movement felt. The overall atmosphere of the scene just worked, and every element pulled together in a believable way. Crowd scenes are notoriously one of the hardest things to get right in AI video, and Seedance handled it really well. 9 out of 10. Kling 3.0 was just like Veo in terms of how it handled everything, so I'll give Kling a 6 out of 10. For the next test, we're trying something completely different. Every test so far has been about realism in some form. However, test 5 is 3D Pixar-style animation. I love this test because it requires a completely different skill set from these models. They need to deliver that specific stylized quality that makes animated films feel warm expressive, and alive. It's a very specific look, and not every model can deliver the same. I'm using this image of myself as an animated character and pasting in the prompt. Kling 3 went first, and I wanted to test this one because so far we've seen how it specializes in realism, so I was curious if it would keep up here. And as we can see, Kling has this interesting ability to shift between realism and stylized content without losing quality. A strong start to this test. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Grok Imagine was next. For stylized content specifically, it has a really natural feel for color and warmth that works really well in an animation context. The result was bright, clean, and had a charm to it. 9 out of 10. VO 3.1 felt a bit flat compared to before. It wasn't bad, but this use case is clearly not its main strength. 7 out of 10. Hailuo 02 gave a clean result with a decent stylized look to it. The overall aesthetic was there, but it struggled to keep the earth consistent across the clip, which made it feel a bit off. For quick animated content, it's a solid option. 6.5 out of 10. Seedance 2 was one of the more pleasant surprises of this test. It actually handles stylized and animated content really naturally. The character had personality, the colors were warm and inviting, and the movement felt fluid in a way that suited the Pixar brief really well. The camera pulled off a smooth 180, which added a lot more depth to the shot, and it kept the interior of the ship consistent the whole time, while still adding new details as the camera moved. It also introduced an alien spaceship with this subtle alarming sound as it was revealed, which really added to that Pixar-style feel and gave the scene a bit of a story. So I'll give this one a 9 out of 10. So this test didn't have one clear winner, but if I had to pick one, I'd give the edge to Grok just because of that charm that matches the Pixar style. The results speak for themselves. There is no single best model for everything. Each one of these models has a specific type of content where it excels at, and knowing that is genuinely more valuable than any subscription you could buy. If I had to pick one model that performed the most consistently across all 5 tests though, it would be Kling 3.0. It didn't just win its categories, it stayed competitive in almost every single one, but at the same time, Seedance actually ended up taking the most wins overall, which says a lot about how strong it is when it hits the right use case. But the real takeaway here isn't which model is best. It's that the people getting the best results right now are the ones who know which tool to use depending on what they're making. With Higgs field, everything stays in one place, so you can switch between every model we tested today without managing multiple subscriptions or starting from scratch whenever something new comes out. If you want to try these models out for yourself, click the link in the description to get started with Higgs field. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.